One of the biggest names in anime is quietly supporting a legal push to cut off internet access for piracy. Words from another article, unworkable and deeply concerning. Sony Music among parties pushing to cut off internet for pirating customers, Supreme Court asked to intervene. This is an article from today of April 24th, 2025, and this is another article that's literally from this day as well, and there is some traction being made with this conversation. A lot of people are starting to talk about it. However, we need to talk about the origin point and how we got here in the first place, which takes us back to this article that was posted on October 11th, 2024, which revealed that the appeals court cuts major label payouts in Grande ISP copyright infringement case. Now, overall, what this basically means and what this article kind of covers is that Grande ISP, an internet service provider, that's what ISP is, had to pay out, actual money to UMG and other companies affiliated with the court case because of copyright infringement. And now you're probably wondering to yourself, how does this affect the customer? How does this affect me? And how does this article play any relation to what this means? Basically, what's been going on for the past few years, it seems, is that UMG, Sony, and a bunch of other companies have been very upset with piracy. Go figure. We know this, it's always a constant battle. And pretty much UMG and other companies associated with the case basically said to the ISP that you need to be liable for the damages to our brand because people are using your internet service, for instance, buying your internet service and then going on the internet to browser pirated content. It means that you're liable for damages, which, once again, Grande ISP had to pay damages to UMG and other companies because of what happened. The court ruled in, for instance, the actual company's favor. So what this means in easier terms to understand is that ISPs, which for a very long time now has been able to remain neutral and be able to basically offer internet access for anyone that's willing to pay, and if you, let's say, go on the internet and you do pirated stuff and all that, you pirate music, games, anime, whatever, it's not the ISP's fault. They're not going to intervene really. At most, they're going to, say there is a DMCA notice. They're going to shut off your internet very briefly. You call them, they turn it back on. That's about it. That's really all that can happen. That's been a thing for a very long time because personally, I have experienced that with Ben Lomond here in Tennessee. So I know for a fact it is something that is already been a thing for a while. However, they have never straight up jumped in and basically completely cut access to your internet basically indefinitely. And what this court case is pretty much building up to is that the ISPs, the internet service providers, aka people like Amazon, AT&T, Comcast, you get the point, big internet companies will have to be liable if their actual customers browser pirated content. So for instance, hypothetically, you go on YouTube and you get on YouTube and you listen to a pirated song, or you go to a site to watch a pirated episode of anime, the ISP will be liable and then they will have to do something, aka remove your access to the internet pretty much indefinitely, or blacklist you basically. That's kind of what it seems like UMG and Sony and other companies are trying to push at this point. So you can already see the damage that this is potentially going to cause. It's not good news by any means, because with them pretty much kind of already having to pay out damages, this kind of makes the court systems look at the situation with ISPs a lot differently than they have in the past, where they might not have to, or they will be forced to not remain neutral. They will actually have to, use, their authority to remove people from the internet, which Grande, the ISP provider, is trying to fight back with their own way, their own words, basically saying that, they've had multiple examples here that, okay, what if there is multiple different examples? Like, let's say someone gets on the internet and it's like someone's brother that watches pirated content. Does that mean that the entire household is now removed from the internet because of someone else? What if there was multiple offenses? For instance, a brother accessed a pirated episode of anime and then someone came in from, let's say, a different state to the house or whatever, maybe it's an Airbnb place or whatever, and they access the internet. Does that mean that the entire household is now shut off from the internet because of a few bad eggs? There's a lot of things to really factor into this that this, Grande is fighting back with. But this is building up to be pretty bad. For instance, this is not going to affect the entire world, obviously, but this is going to affect the States, United States. And obviously there is a lot of people that watch anime and a lot of people that follow me on this channel that are from the United States. And for instance, if this, continues to go forward and it continues to be pushed, there could be actual issues to where maybe these companies will step in and ISPs will have to blacklist you from even being able to use the internet, which brings into another conversation that this article brings up, that let's say theoretically you got blacklisted from Verizon, okay? You can't use the internet of Verizon anymore. Does that mean that Verizon needs to contact, let's say, AT&T or Comcast or whatever, and let let them know that you no longer can use the internet? Or does it mean if you get blacklisted from AT&T or Verizon, can you go to another company and have to use their internet? What if you get blacklisted then? Will you no longer have access to the internet, and if you continue to get blacklisted? And obviously, accidents do happen as well. Sometimes you might access the internet that is unintentional, and it happens, and maybe something like this gets flagged. There's a lot of issues that can lead to this. A lot of privacy concerns, a lot of just like, I feel like it might break a few laws. This is not good. I don't know how far necessarily this will go, but I do think that this is an active situation that is evolving, and it does make me wonder exactly the end game goal here. For instance, what will eventually happen? Because I want to be fair to you, or be completely blunt. Let's say in a world, a very dystopian end game goal, a world to where these companies like, for instance, UMG and Sony, they win, okay? And they force ISPs to have to intervene and no longer remain neutral. What theoretically would be the counter to this would probably be VPNs. Now, I don't know necessarily how far those will go, it depends. But basically, VPNs will be the main way for people to access the internet. And if you don't have a VPN, it's going to be very dangerous, and you could pretty much lose your internet access indefinitely. So yeah, it's not good. I think that this situation that is evolving is getting pretty bad. I feel like more people should definitely be aware of this. Will this go far? Who really knows? Obviously, the Supreme Court is being asked to intervene. It really depends on how they go with this, if they will rule in the favor of UMG and Sony and other companies, or if they will rule in favor of ISPs. We will have to see. There's a lot of corruption, obviously. Anything can happen, but I will say that this is definitely something to keep your eyes on, because it could be bad, it could not, it could be a nothing burger, it could be something very dangerous. Who really knows? But yeah, wanted to bring this to everybody's attention that was completely unaware of it. Obviously, I don't think piracy will ever be destroyed, but if you're blacklisted from internet, that would be very damaging in a lot of ways, because nowadays, you can't even, like, get a job application without going online. So, like, imagine if there was a household that, you know, had, like, a son or a family member come on and, you know, do some form of piracy stuff, and then the entire household is, like, blacklisted from the internet. It would basically mean that you no longer could apply for a job at that place. You can see where the issues come into play here. And it's like, how would this work with, like, phone services and stuff like that? There's so many questions. But yeah, I wanted to bring this to people's attention. This is very important. This is probably the most important thing I could cover today since I became aware of it. But I love you guys. Thank you so much for watching. May all of you have a fantastic day or night wherever you live. Stay healthy, and let me know your thoughts in the comments below how you feel about this topic. Chibi out.